Today, the moon continues in Sagittarius, so we have a mood of the day that is fiery and also philosophical. We also have, interestingly, so the moon in Sagittarius answers to the ruler of Sagittarius, which is Jupiter. Jupiter in Cancer. Cancer answers to the moon. So that what that means is that the moon and Jupiter are in mutual reception. So they answer to each other. They're a little bit locked in a pattern of sort of interdependence, I guess you will. And that is part of what we want to think about as we consider the deeper meaning of the moon in Sagittarius. The moon also forms, as we go through the day, forms a square to Mercury, the planet of communication. So what is emerging in a deeper truth, what it means for us, how we're going to communicate it. Those are some of the themes for today. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Tuesday, April 7th. And we are just 2 days away now from Mars going into Aries, which is a big deal. Mars changes signs a lot. It takes about 2 years to go through the entire zodiac. So Mars changing signs itself is not a big deal, but because Mars is the ruler of these power planets right now, that is just like a giant cosmic spotlight right now on Saturn and Neptune in Aries as they form a sextile. Well, they formed a conjunction with each other. They are in and out of a sextile to Pluto and also Uranus, in and out of a sextile to Neptune and Saturn as well. So kind of a giant cosmic spotlight on those planets, Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And Aries answers to Mars. So where Mars is right now matters to how we think of the energies we are moving through in our day-to-day lives. And that energy right now is being governed by Mars still in Pisces, but in later Pisces. And when planets move through the final degrees of a sign, there is something coming to the surface for us to be aware of. There is a sense of completion, a sense of reckoning. So like, what have we not completed? What do we need to have come into our awareness so that we are prepared to deal with it as the planet shifts into the next sign and the vibe changes? So in this case, we are looking at Mars in later Pisces, the end of the zodiac. And Pisces itself has to do with transcendence, dissolving, letting go, release, right? So what do all those things have in common? What they have in common is we are releasing our old ways of defining something, the old structures, constructs, forms that something has taken on. So in the case of our human lifetimes, that would be the end of life, right? So Pisces has to do with that sense of completion and that process where we transcend or let go of our identity, very quite literally, our identity, our body, our name, our all of those things, and we become spirit beings. So that is what Pisces speaks to, and not just human death or animal death or that process of death and rebirth, but it really speaks to anything in our lives that has reached its completion. It is time to let go. So with Mars moving through those later degrees of Pisces, we're letting go of old forms, and that could be a lot of different things. So it could be people in different ways, right? Maybe someone is you're literally saying goodbye to someone. Maybe you're saying goodbye because they're moving to another country, or because they're leaving their job or things like that, right? So it's the same idea. It's like the day to day of how you experience and encounter that person is changing. It's being let go. And it's not just people, it's the things we've built, the things we've invested in, the things we've created, the things we've been attached to, anything like that. So it can show up in a lot of different ways. And so the point is to pay attention in your life to what is coming to an end, what is concluding, what is being released, let go, what is changing, what is shifting, what is moving out of a way that it was experienced or embodied in the day to day to something new and different. Maybe you're going to be having to have Zoom calls with someone who used to be in your everyday life that you ran into in the halls all the time, and now they're moving away, right? So that's just one example, but there's lots of ways that things could be changing, and you see, like, it becomes this more, well, a Zoom call may not be a spiritual experience, but it's more ethereal, right? It's more abstract. It's not the tangible, sensory, tactile experience of having someone right in front of you. So in that example, it may not be a more spiritual kind of connection that you have with the person, but it is different, right? And it is less tangible and it is less tactile. So that is the point of Pisces. And so as Mars is moving through these final days of and final degrees of Pisces, we are releasing and letting go of old forms, old attachments, things that, whether we are ready or not, they are moving and changing, and old forms are being released in preparation for new forms that will emerge. And that's what's going to happen once Mars goes into Aries, joins Neptune and Saturn and Mars in Aries, or Mars will be joining Neptune and Saturn. Mercury will then enter Aries, where it will join Neptune and Saturn and Mars. So we're gonna have, and like I shared about in Sunday's deeper dive, which I highly recommend to be prepared for this enhanced, increased Aries energy, Aries on steroids, you might say. Just so some ways to take care of yourself in that video. So I highly recommend my Sunday video. It said how to take care of yourself in the rash, accident prone, hasty energy of Aries as it unfolds in 2026. So that's a great video to help you navigate this. But in the day to day where we are right now, we are in that letting go process. We are getting ready for the new beginnings and we have to release and sort of let go of old forms to make room for new ones. And we have the Sagittarius Moon today, philosophical. So connecting with our beliefs, and beliefs in this case answer to Jupiter. Jupiter is in Cancer. So our beliefs about home, about belonging, about who belongs where, about whose home is where is home? What does it mean to have a home? What does it mean to depend on your home? Homeland, family, identity, all of these things that come down to that sense of belonging, that sense of where you feel that sense of belonging. And Jupiter is about our beliefs about that. The moon in Sagittarius is also highlighting those energies by saying, how are you considering your beliefs and what's important to you? And so, for instance, you might think about not just where you belong or who you belong with or who your people are or what identities you have, but also why that's important to you, why that matters, because Sagittarius is the philosopher. So it's looking to that higher encapsulation of truth. So as you look to what that where you belong, where your loyalties are, and we think about the question of loyalty in the wider collective discussion, you can also ask specifically during this Sagittarius moon, why that feels important and what is meaningful and what are the principles that matter to you. So, for instance, looking to your own personal religious background, which you may have a complicated relationship with. It's very, none of it is all good, none of it is all right. There's always good in it. But really looking to, like, from your own personal perspective, what matters to you about those spiritual, ethical, could be religious, right? But like kind of your identity, like your tribe that you identify with, and the beliefs and the higher sense of ethics, purpose, and morals that underpin, how we make agreements with each other and what we strive for, because it's always a work in progress. But I think some of those deeper questions about who we are, where we come from, what's important to us, what matters, and why are going to serve us well is something to consider as we get ready for these full on acceleration times of Mars going into Aries. And the energy of Mars in Aries will be with us for a while, but it's going to be extra significant, potent for the rest of April. And as it moves through early Aries, it will form a conjunction with, well, first it'll enter Aries. That 0 degrees Aries point is powerful in itself. And then at 2 degrees Aries, it hits Neptune. And let me see if I can give you some dates here. So around, looks like April, around the 12th, so 9th, Mars goes into Aries. Around the 12th is the conjunction, just ballparking here, the conjunction to Neptune. And then, okay, Mercury goes into Aries on the 14th. Mars conjuncts Saturn on around the 19th, and Mercury, Neptune, and then Saturn. So anyway, it goes through the end of April, essentially, with this very intense Aries energy. We have the Aries new moon on the 17th, April 17th. And then once we get into May, well, then at the end of April, we have Uranus going into Gemini, and that's the 25th. So by the time we get to the end of April, some of this Aries energy, it's still very much there with us, but some of the intense conjunctions and things that are really kind of not just bringing the flame, but also the accelerant, like everything kind of being additive together. We'll move past that by early May, and then we still have the Aries energy into May, and well, the sun goes into Taurus for the end of April, and then Mercury and Mars, Mercury goes into Taurus in early May. Mars will continue in Aries for a couple of months, and Saturn and Neptune, Saturn will be there for 2.5 years, Neptune for until the late 2030s. So get used to the Aries energy. It's particularly enhanced and accelerated for the second half of April. All right. Thank you so much for joining me and for that longer exploration today. I am so excited to invite you to my chart interpretation workshop on April 16th. I will be doing a live workshop with hopefully you, whoever can attend. It's $38 to join. and we will meet and go through your chart and just have fun. We're just going to look at what stands out in your chart, how to think about it from an evolutionary perspective. You don't have to know anything. I will give you, enough of an orientation that you can follow what's being discussed, and then we'll kind of jump right in. We're not going to, I don't like those astrology classes where you go through systematically the signs and the houses. I mean, that's great, and you can get a book and you can you could do that online probably, but it comes alive when we come together and we can really look at individual charts and your chart and how it affects you and what is speaking to and through you, to understand that more fully, especially from an evolutionary perspective, to understand what you are being called to, what is inviting you forward, and how to best respond to that. Important times right now, so I think this will be really valuable. So hopefully you will be able to join me on April 16th, 4:00 p.m. Pacific time. I've got all the details in a link in the description for this video, and you can also find it on transformationalastrology.com. I've got it posted there now. Sign up for a free account there so that you will be notified of future events. Thanks so much for joining me and for subscribing to this YouTube channel. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time with more astrology for unshakable self-care. Bye for now.